Innovate UK, it is as it says, we are the UK's innovation agency. So our focus is very much on driving productivity and economic growth. And we do that by supporting businesses to develop and realize the potential of new ideas, including those from the UK's world-class research base. And that's very much a real focus for the research centres. And our mission, again, as it says, it's to help UK businesses grow through the development and commercialisation of new products, processes and services supported by an outstanding innovation ecosystem that is agile, inclusive and easy to navigate. And I've just read that from the screen because it's hard to go and to better those words. Now, Indro, our chief executive, likes to really put what we do in terms of inspiring, involving and investing. And by inspiring, it's helping to make the opportunity visible and compelling and allowing innovative businesses to create value through innovation. And involving is really much more about bringing relevant organizations and people together to create a vibrant and successful innovation ecosystem. And then Innovate talks about invest really when we mean funding. We also have an invest proposition, which is why we're connected to Sonia, and I'll talk about that later. But by investing here, we're talking about really convening the resources needed, including our own, investing in innovation to make a clearly tangible positive impact on the UK's economy and society. But we do so much more at Innovate UK than just investing. So we believe everything benefit everyone through knowledge, talent and ideas, and UKRI, UK Research and Innovation, really brings together those 7 research councils, including Innovate UK, ourselves, and Research in England. And hopefully, quite a few of you will have come across a number of these research councils before. And what we're trying to do is we're really all about building the future economy. A few years ago, we developed our plan for action, and we focus in on a number of priority themes. And the themes are really the future economy. So what the UK economy will be like in the future. And again, I'll cover that in a little bit more detail later on when I talk about investor partnerships. Growth at scale is really important, how companies can grow and scale up. And part of that journey is through our Innovate UK business growth, which is previously Innovate UK Edge. Global opportunities, helping build new supply chains, positioning UK companies as the partners of choice and attracting inward investment is really important. The innovation ecosystem, it's working with partners to ensure our system offers excellent support for business innovation. Talking to you is a really important part of this. Innovate UK business growth, and also Innovate UK Business Connect, which many of you may have come across in the past, previously the Knowledge Transfer Network, KTN. And also we're about sort of using our government levers, helping government support business innovation through procurement, standards, codes, regulation, and other levers. And again, the sort of feedback that organisations like yours can provide is going to be important in you're talking to government, and having those conversations is obviously important as well. Our strong foundations are fundamental to each of the priority themes. They are effectively UK assets that can be leveraged in support of business innovation or values we hold to be true to inform our work. We run programs in these areas so that businesses and society can derive the maximum benefit. So there are 6 strong foundations: UK science and research, which is all about maximising innovation benefits to UK businesses. It's probably the key thing that we're really focused in on. Design, creating more value through deploying excellent design earlier. Responsible innovation, ensuring wider societal impacts are taken into account. And again, this is something I'll touch on more as I go through later. Innovation, talent and skills, enhancing people's capability, equality, diversity and inclusion is really important again to us. It's about being inclusive and fair and bringing in underrepresented groups, and finally place and leveling up, building and benefiting from local strengths. Again, another way we like to look at things in our organization is we approach everything we do within Innovate UK from 3 different angles. One is domains. As I mentioned before, there's incredible domain expertise within Innovate UK, whether it's around net zero, whether it's around health. Each of those is domains. We've got specialists who really understand that area and reach out to industry, reach out to charities, reach out to government, reach out to other companies to find out where we can have an impact, where our funding, which is predominantly around R&D, can make a difference and help propel us forward. We also look on things from a place perspective. So we've got regional managers around the country who are working with local authorities, working with universities, local universities and businesses to find opportunities that we can galvanize things and bring them together. And obviously the other impact of place is to try to make sure that not everything is London and the Southeast centric, and to make sure that we're helping really great businesses maximize their potential outside that sector. And we also look at things in terms of products and services, and we have our funding products. I think most people here will understand about grants, but we also have innovation loans, which I'll talk about in a minute, investor partnerships, which I'll very definitely talk about in a minute, and we have procurement of innovation contracts, previously called SBRI. On the support side, we do all of those other things. We support at an infrastructure level globally. We help around convening and connecting organizations. We have mechanisms around export and tools, growth and scale support, and also working with talent and skills. So let me now just give you a brief introduction to investor partnerships. So investor partnerships, first of all, it's worth just going back a little bit and looking at the capitalization challenge. And I'm afraid this goes back to 2013 because it's when we had that really last good survey through PitchBook. But I think the overall picture hasn't changed very much. If you compare us, whether it's deep tech or whatever, to the US, the number of companies or the percentage going through those different rounds is very similar. It's when you look at the order of magnitude as it goes forward, and then you suddenly realize that everything that happens in the US is at a significantly larger scale, whether it's in the first round or going through to Series B, C, D, whatever. In fact, I think most people here will recognize you don't get many sort of D&E rounds in the UK. The last chart on the right is really just to emphasize the fact that people like to talk about this funding escalator. They like to see the fact that, a company puts in their own money, then they get a bit of grant funding, then they go for investment and they move forward. But actually, a survey by Bohurst found that it's just as likely that a company gets grant funding before they get investment as after they get investment. But we also found that grant funding with investment together, does actually improve the overall valuation of a business. There is also this massive inclusion challenge, which again, I suspect everybody here is aware of. If you're a female entrepreneur, you're significantly less likely to get investment in the UK. And if you're a black female entrepreneur, then your chances of getting investment go down to 0.2%. And again, we're really focused on trying to provide all of those companies and all of those entrepreneurs with the opportunity and the access to finance that they deserve to take their ideas forward. So just to give you a brief flavor of what investor partnerships are about, we've been running these since 2017. And really it's a way of using our grant funding for an R&D project to take a significant amount of the technology risk, so that an investor might then consider investing earlier or stretching their risk appetite. And we find that the model that we've developed, which is Innovate UK's good at validating quality early stage R&D projects, we've got that reach. Everybody knows it's non-dilutive grant funding. And we monitor projects which a lot of our investors regard as useful to make sure a company's staying on track in terms of what they're trying to achieve. We're good at doing that, but what we're not good at doing is looking at a company to work out whether they've really got what it takes to grow and scale. You know, looking them in the eyes and working out whether they're prepared to take that sort of risk. Also, bringing an investor on early gives them access to their commercial capabilities, their networks, and their ability to then help the company go on and raise further investment, assuming they're the right investor. And we think we bring those two things together and we get a portfolio of businesses that's much more likely to grow and scale over time. And the money that we're putting in not only leverages further capital, but those companies are more likely to go on and become real successes, and at the end of the day, be successful for the UK. I said that I'd talk about the future economy, and the reason I've got this slide here is because the program we've been running for the last 2.5 years, really, within the last spending review period, is being called our Future Economy Investor Partnership Program. So we started off with this really wide scope that supported all of the areas supported through the future economy. So it covered net zero and all of the areas there, health and well-being split up into the different areas about well-being, tackling in health, ill health, diet and food, heavily linked to our biomedical catalyst, and also looking at things like cancer therapeutics. So it was a really good contribution from that side as well. But it also covers the technology families, whether it's around advanced materials and manufacturing, AI, quantum. A lot of those are cross-cutting and might well play back into health and well-being as well, whether it's VR, XR, AI, machine learning, and also covering next generation digital technologies. This is the sort of future economy that Innovate UK generally has been focused on over the last year. It's where we think that we can make an impact. So as already mentioned, Investor Partners is about bringing together Innovate UK, grant funding aligned with investment. So that's a key differentiator from other grant programs. It's grant funding just like another grant, but the company can only get that grant if they're also able to attract investment led by one of our investor partners at the same time. And that's a real differentiator. It applies to only a few companies that have to not only be innovative and doing innovative things now, but also are potentially attractive to investors. And since 2017, we've leveraged over 1 billion of investment, which has been seeded, if you like, by, it's actually about 115 million now of grants to just shy of 300 businesses. So you'll see that split between aligned investment and follow-on investment, because the aligned investment is the investment that the company had to get, led by one of our investor partners, in order for the project to be able to start. And this is just another graphic of the same thing. So the top line is that first bubble, 115 investor partners. I've got one of those walls in a minute of all the investor partners we're working with. Supported, well, I think it's it's 263 SMEs, 295 projects. Some of them have had multiple projects. So 115 million of grant funding, 333, so almost over 2.5 times the aligned investment. That's coming in the form of equity. I should have said that at the start, sorry. Coming in the form of equity or quasi-equity. So convertible loan notes, ASAs, other things like that. And the whole leverage, including the follow-on investment in, has been over $1 billion. And that's you can see from that pie diagram below that the largest proportion of that's probably something around about 40%, I think, has been into health and life science businesses. And if you look at the total investment by region, okay, there is a focus around London and the southeast, but we have managed to get this out right the way across the country. And a lot of that is down to the investor partners that we've been working with, who often bring us their own portfolio companies, and again, where they would find it hard to follow or attract in other investors into that round. Quickly on innovation loans. So innovation loans are really for companies. It's again a new product, not a new product, sorry, it's been running for about 3 or 4 years now. But it's a product aimed at later stage R&D companies. These are companies that have a real sightline to what we call commercial success. Put another way, they're able to predict real revenues coming in once they've finished their project development and have the time to commercialize that particular development within the business. It is a loan, so we do expect it to be paid back. We can support loans between 100K and 2 million, and we can cover 100% of the project cost in this case. It is a subsidy because we're charging a below market interest rate of 7.4%. But that is structured so only half of that interest, sorry, is charged while they're going through the research phase and also through the pre-commercialization stage. That bit then gets rolled up onto the principal for payment back during the repayment phase. It can be up to 7 years. We don't take any debentures, although we do take fixed and floating charges over the assets of the company. And there are a few covenants in there. There's one around liquidity ratio, which means their current assets have got to be 1.1 times the current liabilities. And then there's a debt service coverage ratio once they start the repayment period. Excuse me if there's too much detail at this stage. I mentioned this is R&D. It's supporting R&D and it's supporting later stage R&D. And that's R&D that really takes a company through from prototype through to commercialization and really covers all of those sort of activities that were so nicely laid out by the Royal Academy of Engineering in this particular slide that we've used with their permission, and covers the sort of typical activities that might be covered. This is a manufacturing focused one, an engineering focused one. But again, I'm sure you'll be able to identify the sort of activities, whether it's around a SaaS model. Typically for something like a SaaS model in health, it might be where a company's developed something that is specific to a couple of customers and they now need to develop it into something that could be rolled out at scale. It's exactly that sort of activity where we can cover those costs. I mentioned the structure. There's that availability period that can be up to 3 years. The extension period, that can be when they've taken that technology that they've developed and they're now taking it to market. So it's that period of time, the maximum period of 2 years, and then a repayment period or a maximum of 5 years. And just to be clear, that whole thing has to add up to 7. So I think there's a typical example there. It might take 2 years of R&D, 1 year of commercialization, and then 4 years of repayment. And we are patient. So, we are Innovate UK, we're publicly funded. We don't tend to come down hard on the companies. We try to be flexible. I mean, I think almost half of those in the repayment period have now had to have some consideration in terms of how we might be able to stretch that out, for instance. So we will always look to see whether there's a way that we can accommodate. And again, just looking at the innovation loans portfolio, there's good coverage across areas and across the country. And I'm going to rapidly go on now to just talk about the investor selection process, because hopefully there are some of you that could be interested in following Sonia et al. Down this process. So we're currently going through the back end of an investor partnership application process where we've got around about 40 more investors that are interested. When I say investors, they're really varied. They can be charities, they can be VCs, they could be angel networks, but they have to be able to demonstrate to us that they've got the credibility as an investor, a strategy in place and a track record. They've got the capacity for investment. They've got the capability, so they've got the right team there so that they can actually work with companies to work out whether they're investable. And they've got commitment to the process. And that means an alignment with us. They sort of understand our approach to equality, diversity, and inclusion. We check their financial standing. And then at the end of that, we get back to say whether that investor can join our pool of selected investor partners. And this is the wall. This is the wall of investor partners. So you see, we've got a number of charities in there. We've got Cancer Research Horizons. We've got Prostate Cancer. We've got Nesta, a different sort of charity. Social Tech Trust. If there are ones there that I haven't, you're in there, apologies. But it's a great diverse set of investors bringing us interesting, diverse, varied companies.